All right, and welcome back to Heller Barnes. Ask Me Anything, and we have a fantastic guest today. Cynthia's amazing, and we've been laughing and having a fantastic time before we start here. So now, Cynthia, you and I just met today. So other than reading all your cool stuff on your IMDb, we just met. So I'm going to let Johnny give you an introduction. Johnny, tell us how you met. How do you two know each other, and give us some cool background. And I'll just be snarky here in the background.
I have known this lovely lady, Cynthia Darlow, since 93 or 4, maybe, something like that.
Something like that.
A
Yeah.
long time. Cynthia is she's an official New York City actor star. She's a damn star. Stage, screen, big screen, little screen, audiobooks. She's fantastic. A lot of people have made careers being character actors, and you think of all the male character actors all the time. Cynthia is not just comedic, but she's very funny. She's wonderful. She's a widow of our dear friend Richard Ferrone. My relationship with Cynthia picked up at a great deal when because Richard was my best friend, and so we go back a long way, and we had many wonderful times together, including in in Maine. What's the
Lobster Bake.
The Lobster Bake with the Audiophile magazine. We've gone out on countless double and triple dates. We've been out with lovely Paul Rubin, Paula Parker. Both have been guests. Barbara Rosenblatt, who will be a guest. And we're planning another outing again soon. So it's always a pleasure when Cynthia Darlow is around. So welcome to our show.
You're sweet. Hello, everyone.
So let's talk. So you and I, a lot of my guests are friends, but I just don't remember. I'm horrible at remember meeting somebody. Like Don and I are friends. I have no recollection of meeting him. None.
He has no recollection of ever talking to me.
No, not knowing.
It's his age.
No, I've always been a dotard. My grandmother used to call me a dozy bugger, which I was, and I remain so. But I don't remember. I know people are around, and they have been. I've got my phone. It's filled with phone numbers, and I don't know most of them are. But the ones I do know, I call, and I don't remember when. So I don't remember. Was it at Recorded Books you and I met?
Probably Recorded Books, and also in the voiceover world, in the audition waiting rooms. And then, of course, when I met Richard, I met you.
Yeah.
That world. And, it was so funny that Richard and I had so many of the same friends, and we had never met. He actually lived around the corner from me for 3 years, and we never met.
He lived across the street from me for a while. He lived everywhere.
Yeah.
I know you guys have to. You ever give credit if you ever think? Look up Richard Ferrone. He's a hero. He was president of the Audiobook Steering Committee. So many of the contracts you guys take for granted are because of the efforts of Richard Ferrone.
True.
When Richard and I in the early days were always looking for bucks. I was tending bar, and you never go to the supermarket and there's somebody doing like a display of knives or crap you're never going to buy. That was Richard. He goes to supermarkets with, remember, a boatload of knives. I think it was knives, right?
He sold knives, and he did very well at it, by the way.
And then he and I got involved in, remember, long distance people? You could sell long distance services. So it's a pyramid scheme, and you call your friends. We call network marketing, we called it. But you'd call your friends to the point where they didn't want to talk to you anymore because you kept trying to sign up for your. So Richard and I were a team. Our friends didn't talk to us for ages because we kept talking about try our long distance service. You want to have lunch?
We survived, though. That was survival work, and it really helped out.
Oh yeah. And then I remember this is all related to our stuff in the audiobook world. In the earlier days of the audiophile Lobster Bake, you could go up there and you could do a reading, and now it gets too busy, so they just give you stuff. It's still different, but in those days, you could get up and you do something. So Cynthia, I still remember, she is such a stylish person. She had this wonderful summer hat, this white summer hat to keep the sun off. And she did a wonderful story. I think about an alligator or crocodile. I get those two confused.
It was about a possumondus, a little possum he had a pink nose and a diaper, and he had a human mama and a human auntie, but all of his animal friends who talked. Yeah, there was an alligator in there, but Ippasamondis was the main figure.
It was the cutest damn thing, and everybody fell in love with her, and it was just charming. And then Richard's next, and Richard he had a deep, dark voice and did a lot. He did something about us. The next thing after this lovely children's story is some kind of slasher serial
Oh,
killer.
yeah.
That was scary as hell.
He was known for his murder mysteries.
Oh my God. It was such a bizarre segue. And there are these younger people there who were trying to say hello to both of you, but you were with him, and they said hello to you, and they look at him, and they kind of froze and walked away.
When we were first dating, we had a house in Rhode Island for many years because
remember that
Richard had been at Trinity Rep for like 8 seasons and bought a house during that period. So we were going up. I was like one of the first times I had been invited to his house in Rhode Island, and we had one of his audiobooks on the player in the car, and it was this really grim. I mean, they had taken this guy and chained him up by his wrist to the top of a warehouse, and they took a chainsaw and cut him in half, and then they torched his torso. I mean, it was. I snapped it off. I said, "Oh my God, how do you
those
sleep
romance
at night?"
books are hard to take. Yeah.
I said, "How do you sleep at night?" He says, "Honey, I'm just reading them. I didn't write them. These are not my ideas."
And that inspired you to become a narrator?
She already was. Cynthia dabbled in so
I
many
had already
things.
done, yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who are joining now and seeing it now, you may remember Cynthia from Mrs. Maisel. I mean, what was her name?
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Huh?
The Marvelous Mrs.
The Marvelous
Maisel.
Mrs. Maisel. Yeah, and you go find
And my character is Mrs. Moskowitz.
Yeah, it's a
If
recurring
you watch the show, you can remember that Midge's husband Joel was having an affair with his sexy secretary. The family found out about it, got the sexy secretary fired, and they replaced her with me.
Also a sexy secretary, as far as I'm concerned.
And I was lucky enough to do all 5 seasons. It was a fantastic job, made lifelong friends, and I would crawl through broken glass to the Palladinos who created the show. They were just wonderful to work for.
That's so good. What a wonderful thing. And it's the here's the thing. I mean, you don't realize in our audiobook world, because it's audiobook centric, people come from all over the place and do other things. One of the things many of us forget about is that it's an acting job. And I think the best narrators are actors.
Absolutely.
And I think you need to do that. And Cynthia comes from a very strong acting background. I mean, let's look at some of this stuff. I want to bring up some. Well, actually, there is that. Remember that recorded books card? I think I saw that somewhere. Oh, remember the playing card? Here it is. Remember the playing cards?
Yes,
Cynthia Darlow's website, cleverly named CynthiaDarlow.com. She's going to update it, but. Under the photo gallery, we see the favorite play she performed in, Billy Elliot. We'll discuss that. She's performed on Broadway in Billy Elliot, Prelude to a Kiss, the original production of Grease. We're going to ask about all that. Off-Broadway, Cider House Rules, Juno and the Paycock. She's been in Elementary, The Sopranos, Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. My goodness. She's absolutely done a million gazillion things, and she just never stops. So tell us about, let's start. How did you get in? What acting bug bit you, and what happened after that?
Oh, it's a great story.
Good.
I did not grow up wanting to be an actor at all. I was a little brown mouse who never spoke to anyone and a voracious reader. My big dream was to go to college and become an English lit teacher.
Oh, yes.
Through family circumstances, I moved from Detroit, Michigan to Newport News, Virginia, like going to a foreign country. And it was my junior year of high school. And I met this teacher who taught a drama class. I really didn't know what a drama class was. I thought it was reading plays. So I thought, well, I love to read. I'd probably like that. In my high school in Detroit, we did not have electives. We had armed police guards in the halls. There was no way, that was going to happen there. So I took this drama class thinking it was about reading plays. And this wonderful teacher, David McClung, on the first day of class, and I was the new girl in school in the middle of the year, and he called the roll, and I answered present, and he said, "Wow, what a voice." I looked around me to see who he could be talking about. It was weird. So anyway, this man forced me to be in the first school play, which was You Can't Take It With You. And I begged, I said, please don't make me go in front of people. I will die. I'll sew your costumes. I'll paint your scenery. I'll do anything, but please don't make me go in front of people. He said, no, no, no. You're the only teenager I've got with a voice husky enough to play the Russian Countess. So they put me into a vintage evening gown and threw me out on the stage, and I came out with a tray of blintzes and got my first laugh, and that was it. I had no idea of the power of that mass affection and to pretend to be someone else for 2 hours. Oh my
Yes.
God, it
What
was
joy.
the best, the best. And this incredible teacher, I came from a very poor family. This incredible teacher paid for my college boards. He coached me and drove me 10 hours to North Carolina to audition for the North Carolina School of the Arts, which had just been established as a professional training school for musicians, dancers, actors, and designers. And I got accepted. I won a scholarship, and the rest was history. I got to study in England and came back to the United States. And my first job out of school was touring the nation with the National Shakespeare Company. It was
Oh, wow.
incredible training. Incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. That's wonderful. That's great. So, and then tell us now, your role in Grease, was that on Broadway or a touring company?
Well, I did 2 national companies. That was my I did not have a lot of experience with musicals. I'd actually been told by 2 voice teachers to forget about a career in the musical theater because I had this husky voice and I was a female baritone, and there was no future for me in the American musical theater.
Well, what of the
Well,
work of Hermione Gingold? That meant nothing to them?
oh God. So, well, when did I ever listen to anybody? So I saw in backstage an ad for an open call for Grease. Now, I had a former classmate, Jeff Conaway, who was in the show at the time. And I got the paper and I thought I was going to be so clever. I got myself a friend to help me work up 2 pieces of music. They wanted an uptune and a ballad. I thought, I'm just going to go to this and see how they run a musical audition, what it's like, so I know how to prepare the next time. No intention of getting the job. I was just there for the experience to see what I would need to do because I loved to sing. So anyway, I get in line with my crossword puzzle and my music and a giant cup of coffee.
At the Equity Office, the old one?
No, at the Royale Theater.
Oh.
I got there at 7:30 in the morning, and the line was around the block.
Oh,
My number was something like 273.
Wow.
So I waited all the ding dong day, and they would let us come in and use the bathroom occasionally. They were only going from 10 to 6. At 5:45, I'm finally into the basement of the Royale Theater. I can hear the auditions upstairs. They're letting people sing like 8 bars and thank you. Oh boy. So, okay, here we go. It's my turn. I actually get up there like 5 minutes before they're going to end the auditions. And it was just like out of a movie. Empty Broadway stage with the ghost light in the center. Casting director Vinnie Liff out in the house, surrounded by pictures and resumes, the only guy there. And I sang my first song, which was Breaking Up Is Hard to Do. And he let me get all the way through it.
Oh, wow.
And he said, okay, what's your ballad? And I sang Where the Boys Are. And he said, great, best audition all day. Come back Friday and dance. Well, I thought I was going to die. I don't dance. So anyway, I did come back. I didn't have dance shoes. I had a pair of sneakers. Fortunately, Pat Birch, the amazing choreographer, was looking for actors who looked like teenagers, but who moved well. She didn't want dancers. She wanted them to look like real people. And I got the damn job in the second national tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I played Jan. And then I did another national tour and summer stock company. And then they tapped me to bring me into the Broadway company. And I played Jan on Broadway for 3 years and was dance captain.
That's great. Not only is that fascinating and fun, one of the great takeaways is Cynthia went to the audition with the idea of learning how these auditions work, to get more experience, to understand more. And I think that's wonderful. I don't know if I ever told you, I did my first musical with Angela Rose Massey. She's a wonderful woman. She'll be on our show one day. Put together a musical of a man of no importance.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah. And so I did a song. So I was scared to death. And this was only just before COVID. Like literally the weekend, everything shut down. We did it and then we were done. But before that, back in Chicago at the remember you were never in Chicago, at the Victory Gardens Theater. I took a course with a buddy of mine called Singing for Non-Singers, which is
Fantastic.
I was always afraid. I could carry
Yeah.
a tune, but not
Fear
far.
will stop you.
So I was doing, you know that song, I Got a Crow, wah, wah, you did that crow.
Yes.
So that's what they wanted me to sing. I was so nervous. I was rubbing my hand back and forth on the piano. My friend thought I was trying to start it on fire. So I get like a little bit in, and I go, I'll be right back. And I literally ran out of the theater, ran into Lincoln, ran into the park, and I never went back.
Yeah.
And then the first musical audition I went to, I want to see how that went. I'm outside, I'm ready to go. And I'm listening, and inside, just before me, is some guy singing West Side Story, Maria. Beautiful. I'm just amazing. And I'm going to go sing I Got a Crow? So I ran away from that too.
Now, see, that's another lesson, because they were probably looking for somebody quirky like you, not the really fabulously trained singer. You must always trust yourself. They're looking for you and what you uniquely bring to every project.
Well, lesson deeply learned. And 30 years later, I did a musical.
Yay.
So do you
Well,
recommend?
Sorry,
do you recommend to young actors or somebody new in the audiobook business, should I be auditioning for things even if I'm not fully prepared?
No. You must be prepared. You must be prepared. That is rule number one.
And so how do I prepare if I don't, if I'm newer to this thing? So let's say I'm starting today and I don't quite have your background.
Well, I didn't have that background when I auditioned for Grease.
Okay. But you had some. But you were just going for the experience. I think that's fascinating that, see, most of us, especially, I think it's more guys sometimes, maybe, but like we're afraid to go out and look silly in a sense in front of other people, even though we need the experience. I mean, nobody's a great performer until they're a bad performer. I mean, you have to go through it. You have to learn. You have to have some things that don't work and then grow.
And you learn the most from the mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that so that's happened to you a few times?
Oh, just a few.
Yeah. So like what? Can you expand on any of those? Do you remember having one that you later said that was a great lesson, but I didn't realize the way it would turn out?
I once auditioned. I don't think I've ever told this story. I once auditioned for a production of Gypsy, and I went in for one of the strippers, and I
like
I
Johnny.
I was so insecure that I went totally red spandex and a sequined tube top and teased my hair out to Christmas and just walked in with a ton of makeup on. And they were kind of horrified when I walked in. And of course, completely blew the dance audition. I was just no good. And I when I came away from that, I thought, oh, I went way too far in the exteriors. That was not a good idea. I never did something like that again.
Tell me a thing. A lot of people tell me, I mean, you have to be able to carry a note and not be flat and stuff. But a lot of the songs that are memorable and stuff are is how you play the scene. It's how you play the song.
It's being present in a moment and telling the story. Like everything, you got to tell the story.
See,
a lot of vocal inexperience can be won over, and I really think that's why I lasted in several musicals, because I could act the song, I could tell the story. I wasn't necessarily the best trained singer out there, but I could tell the story.
And so what's on now? We'll go back over other stuff. What's coming up? I want to talk about your big project, but any more plays or TV shows coming up for you right now?
I actually just shot a little film last Monday called Stinky Fish. And it came my way through a young
That's
woman.
What we had for dinner Monday.
Yeah. It came my way through a former assistant to the Palladinos, and she just had this role, and it called me up. And I was so frightened because I hadn't worked in a really long time due to the pandemic, the several tragedies in my life that just crippled me.
Yeah.
And I did. Oh gosh, could I even remember lines again? But I went in. I mean, when something's well written, the lines are effortless, and it was well written, and I had a ball, and I felt like, well, I'm still fool 'em. Mama's back. I just, it took one little
Good for
project to
you.
set me on fire again, and it did.
Well, that's great because we were out. You and I and Joanna was what 3 weeks ago,
But yeah, about that.
something like that. So yeah, so this is like almost it's. I don't want to say it's a new you, but it's you again.
Yeah, yeah. I turned a corner. I was really, I've gotten some necessary help. I've just been in mourning for a really long time.
Yeah.
Just to encapsulate, I lost in a 2.5 year period. I lost my son, my husband, and my younger sister,
Wow.
and it's just been brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really crippled me. But I'm back on track now, and I was having a lot of health issues because that's what grief will do too. And but I'm back. I'm back.
And
Very
I'm glad you
grateful.
are. And I want to reach out to everybody listening, and everybody's going to tune in later. If I wrote something about this, and Cynthia and I are here to tell you, if you go through grief, and this is not about that, but if you're going through things and you're feeling not right, go get the help you need.
Yeah.
Go get it. It makes you need to. It makes a difference, and there is sunlight down the road. You just got to walk through a little bit of dark.
You get
And I think-
stitches if you've got a cut.
Yeah,
This is,
Yeah.
you got
And
you're a nut.
also, I do think that at some point everybody's going to go through it, and
Yeah,
we're going to
boy.
lose our parents. We're going to have things happen, and we're going to lose our spouse. I mean, someone close to us. I lost my dad 40 years ago. My mom just had a mini stroke here a couple of weeks ago, and so I have some people that think I'm a flake right now. But like, everybody's got something, and so if you're out there in the audience, you have something too, and we're all going to have to go through it, and everybody else understands. I mean, if they don't understand, they're too young. All
Yeah,
right, they're
really.
age challenged, because we're all going to have those moments, and there's a bunch of help available because there's everybody else goes through it on one level or another. Boy, but it's always a struggle.
Yeah.
We got a little maudlin, so my dog left.
Yeah. Well, I want to know how you transitioned. When did you start doing audiobooks, and how did that come about?
I started audiobooks probably about in force in about 1998. I met Richard, and we were talking on the first date about his audiobook career, which was already pretty stellar. And I said, "Oh, I want to hear all about that. I've been trying to get into that. I had done one children's book, and I thought I had my foot in the door, but it was like 2 years ago, and I hadn't done any more. I just didn't know how to get in there." Richard, on the first date, says to me, "Well, tomorrow night is the Recorded Books Christmas party, and I'd love to take you and introduce you to the producers. You'll audition, and the rest will be history." I thought, well, this guy doesn't even know if I can act or not. What a sweet thing to do. And I was in an off-Broadway show at the time called Mere Mortals by David Ives. And I said, well, I could stop by for about half an hour before I go to the theater. So I did. And of course, I walked in, and I knew everybody there because they were also in the voiceover world, which I was a big part of. And I met Claudia Howard, and she about a couple months later had me come in and record something to audition, and 2 years later I got my first job.
Overnight success.
Yeah, but then it really kind of took off. I've done about 90 books at this point. I had some wonderful series. I did a dozen of the Murder, She Wrote mysteries for the BBC, and that was a big thrill. And I had a couple of other series, the Miss Julia stories, the Miss Dorothy stories, and a lot of stuff. I've done romances and what do you call them? Prayer books, Christian-based novels and that sort of thing. Just, anything anybody will hire me to do, I'm happy to do.
And when you started, though, see, it was kind of a different era in that they were taking a chance on you if you go into a studio, and it's expensive per hour. There's a lot of stuff going on, and not many people made that cut to get started. And
Yeah.
so once you're started, then obviously. So what's your experience been today? Do you record still in studios? Do you record from
I do.
home? Do you do?
I don't have a home studio because I'm in a first floor front apartment on a very busy street right en route to the hospital. So there's a lot of sirens, and my apartment is over the boiler in the basement, and there's kind of a constant hum on the floor. There was just no way we were going to get a professional result in those days, so we never did. And when the home studio trend really burst upon the scene, especially during the pandemic, We thought, well, we'll never work again, but we did. Richard is so famous and he worked all the time. And I too have been able to go to studios to record. I've done a couple of children's books for Audible lately that were a lot of fun. And it's slow. I wish I had more. We all wish we had more work. We all feel underused, but there you go. You just keep on plugging.
Oh, that's amazing.
Are
And
there any questions out there from our listeners? Because we want to make sure we get. I know I say it every week, but this is Ask Us Anything, so you can. we may ignore you, but you can certainly ask. But so while we wait for that to happen, because I remember, by the way, Richard also got me in audio. I think I've told you that story. Richard got me started in audiobooks because before home studios. So home studios is the reason audiobooks have exploded.
Yeah.
Anybody with a credit card can buy the equipment they need, and they can't buy the skill or talent necessarily, but they can certainly buy the equipment. With Richard and I, he said, Claudia Howard, Recorded Books. In those days, the Recorded Books was it wasn't the monolith financial giant it is now that owns it.
No.
It was a small kind of a family company. And you
kind of a boutique. Yeah, they did a classy little company. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you could go by their studios and hang out and have coffee and shoot the breeze with the Simon Preble and George Goodall. Yeah. And they were the giants of the industry were so nice to us when we started. But Richard had me come in because I met Claudia, and they needed an adult who was fairly sophomoric in every way. And then there I was. So I started doing kid stuff right away, and that's how I began. And eventually, that became my niche, but I didn't know. I thought it was another side job, and so it became my world because I still doing all the voiceover commercials and things. So now you and I have talked about this. I want everybody else to know about it. And the history of this kind of thing. There's you'll say it better than I will, but a women's dormitory, a theater dormitory, sort of.
Yes.
When I used to be peppered all over the city.
When I first came to New York, I arrived on the Greyhound bus with $25 left in my pocket after the bus ticket. I had just finished the National Shakespeare Tour, and I was coming to take my bite out of the Big Apple. I had a lot of friends from college who had already moved here. I'm in New York now, and I was going to couch surf until I could, figure it out, get a job, whatever. So I had two girlfriends who were living at a place on West 53rd between 5th and 6th rather, called the Rehearsal Club. This was an establishment for young ladies. You had to have 2 letters of recommendation vouching for your seriousness, and you had to audition to get in. And I called one of my girlfriends there, and she said, well, we're kind of full, but come and meet the house mother. Maybe there's something we can do. Well, this was a shabby, elegant brownstone, 2 brownstones that the Rockefeller family had donated with tax-free status and combined. And there were about 35 residents. The house mother took pity on me. She didn't make me audition because I'd just done the National Shakespeare Company for a year touring the country. And she put a cot in a room with 3 other girls for me for about $60 a week. I had 2 meals a day in this safe place to stay. It was all women, no men allowed, no men above the 1st floor, in fact. And that's how it started. The next day I didn't even have the $60 to give toward, so I gave them 10 towards my food. Then I bought the New York Times the next morning for the want ads and Backstage for the auditions. No union affiliation yet or anything. So off I go. Well, I got a job waiting tables down in the Village right away. They had just put in an outdoor cafe and they needed an extra hand. So I walked right into that. I was babysitting. I was dressed up like a gorilla in Times Square passing out pamphlets for $4 an hour in the broiling heat. I started a cleaning company, which consisted, I had no phone or anything. I had a human answering service.
Oh, no. Was it Actor? What's it, Actor Page?
Actor phone. Yeah. I was with a couple, Actor phone and Bells Are Ringing. Anyway. So I had little business cards printed up called Out Damn Spot. We were a cleaning company. 3 actresses would come in and clean your apartment for $15, and they would call the answering service to make appointments. So with all those 17 jobs, I never got back to the rehearsal club to have my 2 meals a day. But they were so kind. They would wrap a sandwich for me and put it in the fridge so I would have something when I got home. They were just wonderful. Anyway, that piece made my entire 55 and still year going career possible. If
How long
they
did you
had
stay
not
there?
taken me in, and I was only there for a few months, and I raised enough money to get an apartment with a roommate.
Wow. Now, I don't know if you remember, I think there were a number of those kinds of places
There
in New
were
York
in
for a
those
long
days.
time.
There was the Evangeline House, starts with
Chicago
a
had them
B.
too.
Chicago had them. Yeah, there were a couple. The Barbizon, yeah, and the rehearsal club, and there was no, internet or anything. This was all by word of mouth, and I even knew about the place. So anyway, fast forward. The rehearsal club closed in 1979. The property was bought by the Museum of Modern Art. It was no more. Well, about 15 years ago, I could see that it was now impossible to get started in New York as a young actress. It was unaffordable. It wasn't safe. There were nothing to boost you up, So the rehearsal club, one of the original residents of the rehearsal club had a tea party and invited a bunch of residents to get together and catch up on each other's lives. They had such a good time. They decided to reform the rehearsal club. They elected officers. They were paying dues, and then they wanted to do a documentary on our history and write a memoir. About all of our stories and how we got started. So that's when I came back into the rehearsal club. One of the girls said, "You've got to tell your story." So we developed this memoir, and I said, "You know what? We've got to reestablish the residence. That's what we really need to do." And I had this high profile job on Mrs. Maisel, and I met an investigative reporter at a gala. She said, "Let me do a story on you." I thought, "Well, sure. Where are you from?" She said, "The New York Post." I put her card in my evening bag and thought, well, that'll be that. No, 3 weeks later, she called up and hired a photographer. We went out for about 5 hours taking pictures of where the old rehearsal club was and where I had my first Broadway show. And we just talked for hours, and she ended up writing this full page article on me in the Post. Well, my phone started ringing off the hook. My mailbox was exploding, and I clearly had pressed a button of interest. And to make a long story short, we had
Oh, we have half an hour.
I had there was an anonymous donor who stepped up when he heard our story and said, "I'll put up $100,000. If you can match it, you'll have $200,000 to start." Now, this is in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
My Gail Patron, who's currently the president of the rehearsal club, and I were on the phone establishing a tax-free status, to becoming a tax-free entity, a nonprofit. I had gone to a seminar on my own dime just to learn about this organization called Lawyers for the Arts or something like that. Anyway, they would help creative minds who have not much business acumen to get their business dreams started. So I went to them and I came out with a packet of information about 2 inches thick. And I went back to the rehearsal club women. I said, "We need to become a nonprofit and go now and have a tax-free status, because then we can be eligible for grants and all kinds of things to raise money to build a new rehearsal club." And my friend said, "Our women are not going to want to do this work." And I said, "Yeah." So anyway, I presented what I had learned, and we took a vote, and it was unanimous to go forward.
Oh, wow.
So this grant from this man came in, and we got on the phone to our friends and family, and any way we could, and we matched that $100,000 and then some, and we started the rehearsal club. So our first place was, I got a call from a place called the Webster Apartments. The Webster Apartments had been a female residence since 1921. That was built by the R.H. Macy family to have a safe place for their female clerks to live. And they said, "We didn't know about you." And I said, "Well, I didn't know about you." We had lunch, and we were invited to form an alliance. So our first residence was, we took 10 apartments at the Webster. And then they sold the Webster a couple of years ago, and just about a year and a half ago, we moved to a place called Found Study on 53rd and Lexington. This was an old DoubleTree hotel that had been gutted and made into like dormitory style living. And the rehearsal club has a wing of all female residents in that building.
Right now,
My
currently.
big dream someday is to have our own building so we can run it the way we want to, and it's a wonderful. We've now helped about 20 young women start their careers.
Oh,
Wow.
now, is it 20 spaces, or are they 10 spaces rooming, or how's it work?
We subsidize their rent.
Mhm.
We offer them mentorship and workshops. They get free telephone, free housekeeping. The old residents, we had a chef that in a cafeteria, but we don't have that anymore. Now there's a community kitchen, so the girls have had to add cooking, shopping, and cleaning to that roster. Yeah, it's just the support they get is incredible. They're paying, I think it's about $1,400 a month now, with all of that. It's 24-hour security. I mean, it's just fabulous.
Now,
And
how does a young lady or an old lady, anybody starting out who needs this, how do they find it?
they go to our website, therehearsalclub.com. And or is it .org? There are two websites. I never remember which is which, but just go to the rehearsal club and you'll see the options, and you'll find out how to start an application. I am on the residency committee. I was on the board of directors. I was on 3-4 committees, and I just had to pull back from a lot of that work because I still have my own career to run too. And they can just go to the website and read the application instructions. I am on the panel that auditions every single girl. You have to do 2 contrasting pieces on YouTube and send them into us because we're still not having live in-person auditions. And who can fly to New York on the chance, you know? So that has really helped us, having the electronics in place to do that. So yeah, just go to our website and there's a ton of information.
Do you foresee more of these kinds of things happening again?
I would like to see a rehearsal club in every major city that has an arts and culture program. I mean, we accept everyone in the performing arts: actors, singers, dancers,
There's
composers,
gotta be a way to
stage
make that happen,
managers.
Cynthia. It's a wonderful idea. It's so
Yeah.
giving.
Yeah. But we can only take 10 rooms because that's what we can afford to support.
Right
'Cause
now.
we pay half right now. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
once people see this, for God's sakes, you'll be swimming in loot. Yeah.
Well,
I have
actually,
to tell you,
last 2 Februarys ago, the New York Times finally did a 3-page spread on us. You can go to that article, and that tells the whole story too.
wow.
Just wonderful. The Times really put us on the map. But yeah, the more money we raise, the more women we can help.
I just bought some Mega Million tickets here. It's a 451 million or gazillion, bazillions. So if I win, I'll give you a little bit of money.
All right, darling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
That
should
was a
win.
real it was a real sisterhood that's still in place to this day. I mean, you know, 50, 60 years later, here we are, and we women are still friends and helpmates, and
Yeah.
it's just extraordinary.
It is
I never
extraordinary.
remember any competition between us. We were all so supportive of one another. It was
That's
great.
wonderful. It sounds like the makings of a fine musical.
Well, actually, Carol Burnett was one of our residents, and she is now in talks with Apple TV to develop a series about the rehearsal club.
Get out.
Seriously. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
it would obviously change your trajectory dramatically if you can get
Yes,
that
it
kind of
would.
PR. Yes, yes. So that's probably why you're pursuing it, right?
My pursuing it is to support these women because it was damn tough when I arrived in this city, and there was just nothing in place for us, and we're making a difference.
Yeah,
I
and the
love
thing
the
is you came into the city though with a whole bunch of background. Imagine somebody coming in who had the same a similar talent or has done a bunch of things in high school, but doesn't have all the toured with this or did that other musical.
That's why you needed 2 letters of recommendation from theater professionals vouching for your seriousness.
Okay.
Because yeah, the spaces are limited, and we have to take in people who are really like me. I had a calling. Once I discovered it, there was nothing else for me. And that's what these women are all like. I'm so glad to see that that's still in place, that kind of passion. If you have to do it, you have to do it. You will find a way. And we're here to help that along.
Yeah,
That's just marvelous.
one of the things that I'll find. So we'll go back to this. You're one of those people that would have succeeded if that hadn't worked out. You would have found another path. That's
Somehow in the theater, I would have found a path. Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
and I do think that a lot of, people get in the audiobook business and they're like, "Oh, it's not easy." It's like,
No, it's not.
yeah, right? I mean, I don't want to, I think people that have been performers as a musician full time, it just, you end up realizing that the path is not simple because a lot of people want to do it. And that if you just give up because you went to an audition and they didn't pick me, I can't tell you how many, I'm like you. I've been in these auditions where there's 200 people in front of you, and I didn't get that audition, and I didn't quit either. But I mean, you have to understand that people will succeed, and you would have succeeded with or without this. You would have found another place to do it. You're giving back now. That's brilliant. Hats off to you for
Love
that.
it.
And what advice would you give somebody new, and I go out and I do have a dozen auditions and nobody picks me? Should I give up?
Not if it's your calling. You have to be unrelenting and really focused and keep your instrument in order. You got to keep vocalizing. You got to keep taking dance class. I didn't have any money for voice lessons or dance lessons. There was not, that was just not in my picture at all. But I would, I would watch and I would learn, and I just kept going out and taking it on the chin, and that's what it takes.
And
Yeah,
that's
you
what,
got to get said no to a lot before you get
Oh
your
yeah.
yeses. And sometimes
Oh
you get
yeah.
a yes right off. I mean, I remember when I was still in Chicago and I gave up a career in journalism because I really wanted to be this,
Mhm.
So I was studying acting, and I had enough money for pretty much a roach infested apartment,
Yep.
acting classes, and I would try and stretch out a can of chicken noodle soup or cream of chicken. Those are my two choices for as many days as I could by adding water to it and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And while you look back at those bohemian, romantic, those days sucked.
yeah.
Sure.
Being
Yeah.
hungry was
Oh
tough, but you had to keep going. And a lot of times, and I want people to listen. Most of the people who watch our show are in the audiobook world, and I want to let everybody know that the movement right now in the industry is very author centric when it didn't used to be.
mhm.
But people at the publishing houses made the decision, and now the author has a lot more say in who gets the gig. That means that you have to audition for a lot of things. Joanna just got offered a shot to in a book. I don't think she'll mind me telling you. Short story. It's a short story, one short story in a big book. Just audition for the short story.
Yeah.
And you think, just, you know what I sound like, but I audition all the time because I hear some people send me notes or talk to me and say, "You don't audition, do you?" And the answer is, "Sure, I do."
Oh yeah.
Auditioning is part of the actor's process, part of your bag of abilities. And I tell you, when I wrote a lovely off-Broadway show, I thought pretty funny, went pretty well. And we hired somebody who was great at auditioning. Shit on
Oh no.
stage.
Oh
Really
no.
just some people get half a job, They're really good audition. Go, "Oh, great, first impression." But then up on stage, "Oh my God, what have we done?" We had to replace the person because he just couldn't handle the show.
Right.
But
Mm.
auditioning is important. And I'll tell you what, here's Cynthia with her brilliant resume, her great career, all the skills, all the stars, all the credits. She auditions.
Yep.
I've done over 1,000 audiobooks. I audition regularly. It's not an imposition. It shouldn't be looked at. I'm letting you know it's part of the job.
It's
And
another chance to
when you
act.
audition, yeah, you can they may say no. And you know what? So what?
Yep.
Everything's a learning experience. It's
Sometimes
rare
when
that
I've
a
give
no means
I'm sorry. Sometimes when I've given a really good audition, and I know when I've given a good audition when I haven't, uh, and I don't get the job, and I go, you know what? It doesn't really matter because I did what I wanted to in that audition. I told the story I
yeah,
wanted to tell, and I feel good about that.
yeah.
Next.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, so
sometimes
here's a
you're
question
not what
about
they
that.
see.
I the comment you just made is brilliant, and I think what every decent performer gets used to, and many people that are newer aren't used to it. Like, I audition, and then I sit there waiting for the phone or the email. Okay, in today's
Yeah.
age, and is that the approach you take? That you audition and then you sit there and just wait for the call
Oh,
back?
They never tell you didn't get the job. They just let you hang.
Right.
And
Right. And so do you
my
cry? Do you
agent, I'll
cry?
call my agent. I'll call my agent and say, "Is this all over? Or are we moving on?" Or yeah, and then I'll get an answer that way. But they do not call and tell you you're out. I
Oh
just
yeah.
had an experience with an off Broadway show that I really wanted. It was a good play, and I gave an incredible audition. If I do say so myself, you could hear a pin drop in the room, and the director actually gave me an instant callback. And he said, "Do you want to go out in the hall and work?" And I said, "No, I think I'd rather just dive in cold, and I won't have time to get scared," because I liked the play, and I just dove in. And again, silence. And he said, "Wow, the director said this to me, and I'll dine out on this the rest of my life." He said, "I just had to find a way to stay in the same room with you." And I said, "Oh my God, what a sweet thing to say." And then they called me about a week later and said, "Okay, there's going to take some time because the author wants to work on the other characters in the play, but we're going to get back to you. You're very strongly in the running, very strong." So 6 weeks go by. I'm checking every 2 weeks. No, you're still in the running. No, you're still in the running. Finally, not the last 2 week period, I finally called again and said, "Oh yeah, they went another way."
Right. They always say, "Well, you were
Oh
close. You
man.
made the cut. You made the cut. You were so close, man. We loved you. We, we loved you, but we went another direction." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that happens even to you as somebody who has been who has an amazing career and amazing credentials, and at the same time they string you out for, we'll just say, 6 weeks, and then you
Yeah.
find out they went another way. So imagine, I just think it's a lesson for anybody doing an audition. Do the audition best you can, ignore it, and start looking for the next ones, because that one, right?
Truly.
Yeah.
And really, I have to say, best you can every single time. Best you can every single time, because you never know that somebody's going to remember you. I've had somebody hire me that I hadn't seen in 10 years, but they
Right.
remembered an audition I did 10 years ago. I swear to God, it happens.
I'm
Right.
so glad you brought that up, because that's the point I wanted to make sure that everybody got. That do the best you can, and do act the shit out of it, and then move on. And you may not be right. The author, sometimes, like, the author may hear they want the sound of their best friend from second grade.
Yeah,
You
you don't
can't.
know.
You have no control over that. But an excellent job means they remember you as professional. I auditioned. I'm not going to give names, but some years ago, I auditioned for a project. It was a kid thing, and it was specialized stuff. And the person in charge said, "That was the best we've heard. That's amazing. You are so gifted. I can't. This is all, everything like your mom's auditioning. All right, so great. So I'm thinking, all right, I got this. No, I didn't.
Kiss of death.
I didn't get a kiss of death. Yeah, the kiss of death that's exactly what I wanted. That means you're never getting that gig.
Right.
So I was exactly what they wanted. I
Yeah.
never heard again from this person for, I want to say, it's 7 years or more.
Uh-huh.
I get a call. "Hey, you were a Shakespeare guy, weren't you?" That's the call. I say, "Yeah." He goes, "You want to do Richard III?" What? Yes, of course I do. So it was a full day. It was a voice thing, but it was wonderful. Got to do Shakespeare, and this guy remembered me from all those years because I was exactly what he wanted, but I didn't get the job. But he never forgot
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
And
it
there's no way the
happens.
actor can ever know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But that also is because you constantly audition and you did a lot, and then some things work out X years later. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
weird thing, Facebook, by the way, relationships. I ended up interacting with somebody in the last week, and I happened to go, "Oh, I should send this person a message." I go look at the message stream, and we had interacted 5 years ago with, I mean, it wasn't any big deal. And it's like, gee, we talked about almost the same thing. And then they came back to me 5 years later. I haven't heard from them, didn't know them, couldn't remember them. And at first glance, would have had no idea that I had contact with the person 5 years ago.
Wow.
And this business is like that. All the performing arts are like that. Sometimes it's 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. And
Yeah.
and if you're, unless you're out there, but you have to be out there, because I did have a message stream of like 3 or 4 messages back and forth. Didn't remember him. So what? It all comes back around, and the people that are relentless like you, man, that is just a dream, and you have to be that way. Now, How many things did you not get?
Oh my God. Countless, countless,
Did you? I mean, do
infinity.
you feel bad? Do you feel bad when you go out and do something and you don't get it?
Sure.
Good.
Yeah, it still hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you just dust yourself off and next.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's just that's going to be over
Yeah.
and over
There are
again.
things that break my heart still. I
Yeah.
mean, you're like, oh, maybe I should hang up my tap shoes, you know?
Right. 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 So Tom asked, reading the room is important, but so is taking a big swing according to how you feel strongest at the moment, or do you disagree?
Say again, please.
Reading the room is important,
Yeah.
but so is taking a big swing according to how you feel strongest at the moment.
Hmm.
Or maybe you disagree. You agree, disagree? What do you think about that?
Sure. I say, trust your gut. I really do. I preach that all the time. Trust your gut. You're the one who knows best. And like I say, they're looking for the unique you.
And here's a question. You stopped training 30 years ago, right?
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Easily. We'll say 30. Okay.
Well, you stopped training.
You stopped
Yeah.
training. You
No.
never taken direction, like you ignore directors and you don't go and work with any other actors, and you've never gone back and done any cold readings. Is that close?
I should have warned you about Don's style, Cynthia.
No, that is not true. I'm always learning. That's one of the most wonderful things about being an actor is you just never know what you're going to be called upon to learn. And like I say, I could not afford voice lessons or dance lessons or acting class or anything like that. So auditioning was kind of my acting class. I certainly learned the most from working with the pros. Watch the people you respect, man. They teach you a ton. Yeah, the learning, the training really never stops. Um, yeah, things happen. Like I'm quite a bit older now. I don't think I'll be doing another musical. My feet are like blocks of wood at this point. But I could still sing. Like Billy Elliot was the perfect role because it was this. I had this wonderful aria in the first act with 10 beautiful men dancing behind me, and I was playing a grandma. So there was not a big dance number expected from me. It was perfect. I would have done that role the rest of my life if they'd let me. But you constantly learning like that. You just never know what you're going to walk into. Again, trust your own uniqueness. Trust your gut. What you feel in the moment is probably right.
My friend Ray Conley, who's just a wonderful human being, has a question here. Cynthia, what do you bring to audiobook narration that's different from the other kinds of acting you do?
I love that question. It was so impressive to me on my very first audiobook how you had to make gentler choices because if you give a character a very extreme choice, it's hard to listen to for hours on end. It just doesn't work. So I really learned to moderate my characters, and I loved being able to tell the whole story and do both the male and female voices and how to differentiate them. I mean, your instrument can only do so many things, and you have to figure it out with cadence, with accent, with dialect, all kinds of things to make your characters varied.
How did you study with anybody, or you studied other actors doing it? Did you also talk to Johnny? He's kind of brilliant about helping with that. But are there him and other people that you sometimes collaborate with or work on?
Well, again, Claudia Howard was really incredible in training me in the early days. She gave me lots of good advice, and
If somebody didn't know who she is, can you tell just who?
sure, Claudia Howard was the artistic director, I guess, of the recorded books for
Okay.
many, many years. She was the producer.
With her
Just
fiefdom.
her fiefdom, and rightly so. She was
Yeah.
brilliant at it, and she found incredible talent, and she had incredible taste, and was incredibly good at casting. And yeah, she was a huge influence. I would say, listen to audiobooks, see what you like, see what catches your interest. Who does work that you really enjoy listening to? Who does work that you don't enjoy listening to, and why is that?
Yes.
So, yeah.
That second F, why is it you don't enjoy it? And also, just because someone has a big name or has done a lot or is well known, like you may think I absolutely suck at this, which is fine. But
Yeah.
decide for yourself why I suck. What is
Yeah.
it? What is it that I'm doing that you just don't dig? And the other side of the coin, someone you may think I'm the best in the world. Why? it's not enough to say because somebody else hired me because I'm working and you want to do what I do. You want to work all time and make whatever it is I make, or you want to be on stage like Cynthia or in TV like Cynthia. What does Cynthia bring? What does Johnny bring? What is it that you want to emulate or not emulate? And you need to pay attention to that. And you don't have to like everybody because they're well known.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
And what do you think about? Do you have relationships that keep coming back and reoccurring in your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's such a family. God, it's we really do stick together. It's wonderful to be a part of this world. I'm so grateful to be included. Really, there's just nothing else. I didn't learn how to do anything else. I don't even type. I'm still with two fingers.
Yeah. Well, and of course we're all learning a little bit about that stuff too, right? I mean,
Oh
before we
boy.
started this, you and I went through and checked out some things, and actually Johnny taught us a tech tip
All
here.
right.
What we were looking to turn off on some alerts, and he knew it, and he shared it, and so that was
Johnny Tech Heller.
yes, that was very
Yeah,
good,
that's
very
you.
good. So what's coming up for you? Anything interesting that people should? First off, I did put the links in to your site, your IMDb,
Oh
uh,
my goodness.
and your the rehearsal club. I've got that, and even where to donate. So I want
Oh,
to make
well,
sure
that's wonderful. Thank
I
you.
want to make sure that people know that if they want to support that project directly, there is a way for them to do that. If they're, when I got to California, luckily I had an aunt who, I mean, I'm kind of like you. I drove everything in my Toyota Corolla wagon, and I had a set of drums. So imagine a set of drums takes
Ah!
up a lot of that back vehicle. And then I had records. I brought 2 crates of records. That's how important. So I had no room for anything else, and I had a place to land for the first 2 weeks, and that really made the difference for me doing the same thing coming out to LA.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are being gold because I'm not nice enough to give back like my aunt did. I mean, if someone, and you are being not only working on New York, but working on other places over time. And that's just unbelievable. So, by the way, for everyone out there, if you have a chance and you have the means and you have some extra to donate, that's a killer project. So that
Yeah.
URL's up there on the screen. Be sure to take advantage of that. Any
Thank
upcoming
you.
things that we should know about? Fun
Yeah,
things.
I'm a couple of years ago, I did a short film for a young filmmaker named Ryan Beck, who is the son-in-law of one of my oldest friends, coincidentally. And he, during the pandemic, he wanted to find a way to make more income, and he wrote this short film, and I ended up being in it. It's a 3-character film called A Few Days Home in Johnson County, and it won Best Short Comedy at the Kansas City Film Festival, his first time out of the box. We had a ball together. Jay Potter and I and Ryan Beck did the
Okay,
film,
yeah.
and it's very funny. And Ryan has now written a full-length screenplay for me. We're going to work on this together. I'm actually going to put on a producer hat in film world for the first time. I don't know what's going to go on here, but I believe in this film really badly. I mean, it's so good that I think a larger studio could get interested. And I told him, I said, look, if somebody really big gets interested in doing this film, they're not going to raise the money on my name. They're going to want a big star. And I will play one of the ancillary roles. He said, well, no, I want you to play the lead and populate all the ancillary roles with big stars. I said, well, we can try that marketing technique. We'll see what happens. So we're just in the very baby steps beginning of trying to produce this film. It is a wonderful screenplay. And he's made me a producer. And he said, you're already producing. The things you've already done for this that's what a producer does. And okay, guess I'm a producer. So we'll see. My husband would have called this my third act. He called the rehearsal club my second act, and he would have called this my third act.
That's awesome. What's the
Indeed.
name of it again? I didn't catch it. A few days
I
home
didn't
in.
say it because it just has a
Oh,
working title right
okay,
now. It's
okay,
just
okay,
right now the working title is Mary Writes an Obit.
okay, okay.
But the other
Don't
film
change it.
that the one that won the prize was called A Few Days Home in Johnson County.
Johnson County. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I did put that up on the screen, but I couldn't. Yeah. Anyway, so
So that's what's in the horizon. Just, lots of domestic stuff. And I'm going to take some time off this summer and play a little bit.
Yeah.
good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Listen, it's been great having you here. You and I will get together later on after this, and we'll
Yes.
get together sometimes to meet up. But I want to thank Don, and I really appreciate you being here. It's a
My
real
pleasure.
joy to have this time. It's just, yeah, I'm so proud of you and
Oh,
happy to have you in
thanks.
my world.
Back
Really
at you,
am.
pal.
Yeah.
And so nice to meet you, Don.
Oh, very nice. And you know what? The funny thing is that this business is about relationships, and you're one of the poster child in terms of building relationships, developing them, keeping them going, meeting people, and understanding that 90% of success is first showing up, and you showed up in spades. So that's really a great takeaway that we all need reinforced every single day. And then the second one is you maintain the relationships, and that you end up building those things so that when somebody needs something, hey, you're somebody they think about. You've had great success, and I suspect you're going to have a whole lot more in the future. We're proud that we got a little bit of time with you to help get your word out to more people, and I hope some people donate. And yes, Stephen here says, what a treat. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
that's the kind of feedback we're getting. Johnny, so
Well,
any
before I
last
do it,
words for...
your turn. What do you got coming up, Don? Because we always get mine and not yours.
Yeah, so I'm doing a thing on RX11 today, talking about reverb, and for people that have a home studio that is not as treated as it needs to be, if they're newer to the business, we're talking about the brand new RX11 this afternoon.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I know. Yeah, so Johnny's so excited. We're basically talking about how you can use some tech to make your room better until you
Wow.
get it all in shape to where it's where you want it to be. And one of the things about the tech is it keeps getting better to where we can sometimes start with something that's not perfect, and we can build. And there's just some stuff that'll take out reverb right now that just wasn't possible even 2 weeks ago. And
Wow.
we're talking about that. So every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, there's VO Tech Simplified. So check us out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this, and also, when you put a comment in afterward, after the show ends, that's insanely helpful to get it out to a lot of other people. So we always appreciate, there's a bunch of you that comment afterward, and we appreciate that. And anything else from you, Johnny?
Yeah, two quick things. One, I want to give a little more tech advice to my two students here. Don't forget to take the thing where you do not disturb, you turned on,
Uh-huh.
turn it off.
Okay, thank you.
You will get a notice.
If I can ever find it again.
Yes.
It looks like a little half moon. You should be able to
Okay.
click on it, make sure it goes up. And then the other thing, don't forget, there is still some space available. I got one more double room left on site at the New England Narrator Retreat, October 14th to 17th. And the offsite hotel is plenty of space for you. It's going to be, you go to my website, you can read all about it. Looking forward to that. Our journey to New Orleans the last week, 2 weeks ago, was fantastic. Joanna and I are going to do some more destination workcation workshops.
Fun.
Maybe
So
we'll bring
brilliant.
Cynthia to do a little
Yay.
coaching too. That'd be fun.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So until next week, we bid you all. Who do we have next week? Do we have it listed somewhere?
I don't know, but we'll check it out. One thing good. Remember, we had some tech problems over the last few. I got my tech company is coming in and replacing the component, and I'll talk about that next week, because
Yay.
people think that all this tech stuff that you put in lasts forever, and sometimes you'll have something for a few months, and I spent a lot of money on this crap, and something still had to be replaced that looked like it should have run for multiple years, and it's just part of this whole thing. And so we appreciate you showing up, and of course, as always, we look forward to seeing you on the wires. Have a great day. See you later.
Bye all.
Bye.